JRPGs, or Japanese role-playing games, are a dime a dozen nowadays. Every Nintendo Direct brings with it at least a few new ones. A traditional JRPG generally has some staples, such as classes, party members, a sprawling story, and endless random encounters. Now, what if we took The Legend of Zelda, which is an action/adventure, now open world type game, and made it into a JRPG? What would change? What would stay the same? Well, in this video, I'll be going over how I would translate the Legend of Zelda experience into a JRPG. I'll divide this video into multiple sections. One for the battle system, the overworld mechanics, the characters and art style, the story, and finally some miscellaneous ideas that I think could spice up the experience and whatnot. Alrighty then, enough explanations, let's dive into this. To start off, we'll be looking at what a potential battle system could look like. JRPGs tend to have two major focuses, those usually being the battle system and the story. Lots of JRPGs create intense and complicated systems that require studying and data mining to crack. I will not be crafting such a system because my brain is far too smooth for that, so I'll be keeping things relatively simple. Since this is the Zelda series we're looking at, let's base the battle system on the Triforce, with 3 attributes: courage, power, and wisdom. The way things would work would kind of be like a rock, paper, scissors type of system. Courage beating power, power beating wisdom, and wisdom beating courage. An attribute that is strong against another is also resistant to attacks from that same attribute, and 2 of the same attributes are neutral to one another. This system is not wholly original, as the Monster Hunter Stories series uses a very similar battling system. However, it just seemed like a very fitting system for a Zelda JRPG, so I kinda had to steal it. Now, how exactly would these attributes work with characters and enemies? Would it be like how Pokemon types work, where they're fixed, or could it be customizable? The answer to that is yes. Okay, let me explain. Certain characters such as Link and Zelda would have a set attribute that could not be changed, being that they're Triforce holders. However, recruitable characters could change their attribute based on the weapon type they equip. On that topic, certain weapon types carry a specific attribute with them. Swords, spears, and shields are all courage-based. Bows, staffs, and wands are all wisdom-based. And two-handed swords, hammers, and gauntlets are all power-based. Any character can equip any weapon. As stated before, non-Triforce holders can change their attribute by switching weapon types, but Triforce holders can gain an attack bonus or a secondary attribute based on what they equipped. For example, if you gave Link a hammer, his attack would be effective against both power and wisdom. However, he would be weak to both wisdom and courage attacks. Sort of a high-risk, high-reward type system. Now, classes could be affected by the whole weapon system. However, a character's class would also determine the types of spells they could use, and also what attributes those spells will be. Once again, Triforce holders cannot change their class, that is set in stone. But recruitable characters can select their class upon joining the player's team. Classes that focus on healing and support carry the wisdom attribute. Classes that focus on both support and combat are courage-based, and classes that focus solely on combat are, of course, power-based. All this allows the player to build their characters however they would like. Now, how would a battle play out? Well, the player would encounter either an enemy or a boss in the overworld. No, we're not doing endless random encounters here, no one likes those. And the battle would then commence. Whoever goes first is based on either speed or advantage. Taking another page from Monster Hunter Stories book, each character on the player's team has a separate health bar. However, if a character's HP is completely depleted, the entire party loses a heart. And unless you have a fairy on you, losing all 3 hearts results in a party wipe. Enemies would not have any hearts, so once you get rid of all their HP, they're done. The entire party shares a magic meter, which goes down as certain spells are cast or certain attacks are made. Once this runs out, no more spells can be cast, but of course there would be items and potions available to replenish this meter. The biggest change that would be made by switching game genres would 100% be the battling and XP system. Switching from an open action adventure battling system to a more strategic and contained one is like going from driving a car to driving an 18-wheeler. Okay, maybe not quite that drastic, but you get my point. Like most games, JRPGs don't solely focus on battling. They have an overworld with towns and dungeons, which, funnily enough, is very similar to The Legend of Zelda. So in that area, not much changes. In fact, we can pretty much keep the entire way the game progresses the same as Zelda games pre-Breath of the Wild. The major difference would just be how you engage enemies. Some JRPGs block certain areas off until you've reached a certain point in the story, or until you've gained a certain skill. This would work well with a Zelda JRPG, as later game areas could be unavailable until you meet a certain character or got a certain item like the hookshot. These items could also help you avoid fights with enemies, or even take them out on the overworld for some quick XP. Also, mounts. Gotta have a trusty steed of some sort to carry you across Hyrule. You could have a horse for quicker travel over normal terrain, maybe a Dodongo for a mountainous area, a sand seal for the desert like in Breath of the Wild, and a talking boat for large bodies of water. And maybe even a Loftwing for fast traveling. Gosh, now that I think about it, there are so many amazing Zelda staples you could incorporate into a spin-off like this. But I think it's time we move on to the next topic here. Art style is super duper important in video games. It's what differentiates a unique game from generic shooter number 5 million. A good art style also helps a game age like fine wine as opposed to rotting like milk. Take Wind Waker for example. The original is over 20 years old and it still looks incredible. Whereas a game like Twilight Princess looked great at the time, but nowadays doesn't hold up quite as well. So with all that in mind, how can we make this game look good and stand out? Well, first we have to decide if this game will be 3D, 2D, or something in between. When I was first brainstorming this video, Octopath Traveler's HD 2D style came into mind. What is an HD 2D game, you ask? Well, it's kind of like a blend of 2D and 3D graphics. The background and environments are usually 3D, whilst the characters and whatnot are 2D. It's a really unique style, and even though I haven't really played any of these games, I still think it looks really, really cool, and it could be really great for a game like this. So I will be stealing it for this fake game I'm designing. My idea is that the backgrounds are all 3D, but the characters have sprites somewhat similar to a game like Paper Mario. The backgrounds could all have an illustrative or painterly rendering style applied to them, and the characters would as well. This would almost give the player the feeling that they're playing in a painting or a picture book or like a comic or something. This would give the game a unique look and feel, so it wouldn't end up as just another generic JRPG. This here is a pretty rough concept, but it's kinda how I envision everything looking. I'm no expert at rendering or environments, but I'm doing my best with what I can do. Characters of all sorts are a staple of both JRPGs and the Zelda franchise. In both types of games, you'll meet some weird and yet memorable characters. Here, we'll be looking at only the main characters you'll meet and recruit, not shopkeepers and other weirdos. Don't worry though, Beetle and Tingle will definitely be present in some fashion. Of course, you'll have your main boy Link. I mean, it is a Zelda game, you can't have a Zelda game without Link. Then there's Zelda and Ganondorf as well. The 3 Triforce holders would play a major role in the story, though you wouldn't encounter them as playable/recruitable characters until later on. Yes, you heard me right. Ganondorf will be a recruitable character of some sort. You'll see once we get more into the story. After the main 3, you have Impa, who could act as a sort of tutorial for understanding the battling system and controlling and customizing party members. As for the rest of the recruitable characters, they'll be from each race across Hyrule, and will be recruited as you progress through the story and beat the dungeon that correlates to them. Each character has their own unique personalities, and also a power or skill that helps the player traverse Hyrule. Only 4 characters could be in battle at one specific time, but they can be freely swapped out whenever the player would like. Maybe there could be a mechanic that allowed the player to strengthen their relationships with the characters for added skills and maybe even, side quests and all that sort of stuff. This way the player actually feels like they're kind of connected with their party in some fashion. Maybe there could even be romanceable options. Okay, maybe not that one. Story is a very important part of every JRPG, so making it a gripping and thrilling experience is necessary. Gotta give the players a reason to keep playing, of course. This story starts in a small village with a boy named Link. As an aspiring swordsman, he is sent on an errand to Castletown, where he meets Zelda and the royal wizard Vaati. There, he learns of strange activity happening in the Gerudo Desert, a portion of Hyrule ruled by Ganondorf. Together with Zelda's attendant Impa, Link investigates the desert and encounters Ganondorf, who, strangely enough, seems completely unaware of all the rumors. In fact, he seems to simply be looking to do the best thing for his people. Suddenly, Hyrule is plunged into darkness, and the blood-red moon is seen rising in the sky. Link and Impa hurry to Mount Hylia, which is where the strange, evil power seems to be emanating from. There they meet up with Zelda, who tells them that Vaati is the cause of the growing evil. He acquires the Triforce and is transformed into a great and powerful demon. The heroes are scattered in a great blast of power, and many years pass. Link awakens in the Sacred Realm and learns that he, Zelda, and Ganondorf are all chosen by the Triforce and have been sealed in the Sacred Realm. Vaati gained great power from the Triforce, but he could not fully obtain it. Instead, it split and fled into each aspect's respective holder. Link is instructed by the goddess Hylia herself to gather the 3 pieces of the Triforce together and to unite all of Hyrule against the evil that is Vaati. So, with this new quest ahead of him, Link journeys across Hyrule, cleansing sacred temples and uniting the many races of Hyrule. He rescues Zelda and Ganondorf from Vaati's clutches, and together they unite their power of the Triforce and defeat the evil Vaati, saving Hyrule. This is a very, very simplified summary of the story. I thought a time skip of some sort would be interesting, as it would let the player see how the evil has transformed Hyrule over the years. Plus, it's a nice callback to Ocarina of Time. Also, this time around, I thought I'd make Ganondorf a genuinely good guy who wants the best for everyone. He doesn't always have to be the villain, give some other villains like Vaati some time to shine. As stated before, this is a super duper simplified summary, and a lot would actually happen in the story. Characters would have motivations, quests, development, relationships, you name it. Much more fleshed out than your typical Zelda story. But now that we've gone over the story, what else is there to cover? Well, in this last section, I'll just be looking over some concepts and ideas that I had that weren't really relevant in any of the other categories. Okay, to start us off, the 3 goddesses, Nehru, Farore, and Din, are all recruitable in some fashion, but only after a long and extensive side quest of some sort, kind of like a legendary Pokemon. Each goddess is strong in their respective attributes and are far more powerful than any of the base characters. Also, once you finish all the goddesses' quests, you will be able to find and recruit Hylia, who has all 3 attributes at once. Also, for a secret boss, Demise would be really great. Oh, well, now it's not a secret anymore, so whoopsie. Also, you can't have any video game in 2023 without cooking and crafting. There would be tons of meals and foods you can cook and get from places like inns and camps and whatnot. Also, monsters drop parts like horns and guts and bones, which you can make really cool stuff with, like outfits. You could probably make some weapons, all sorts of cool stuff like that. Each region could also have some sort of cool minigame, like a mining minigame in the Elden region, or a snowboarding minigame in Hebra. Also, practically every race and monster species will be present in some fashion. Yes, I know this may be contradictory to the Zelda lore, but this game would be filled to the brim with references, kind of like Hyrule Warriors. Also, I know I kind of already mentioned this earlier, but there could be some romanceable characters. Maybe not like your party members, but maybe like a character like Milan, and maybe you could get married and have kids like in Harvest Moon, I don't know. Ooh, but if there's a farming, what if you could have a house in your farm? Oh my gosh, this is not on the script, I just thought of this, but that would be dope. Like a farming aspect to like the game. Oh my gosh, that would be so cool. Zelda farming game when? When are we getting this? And finally, the most important feature of all, being able to pet the dogs. I rest my case, 10 out of 10, Game of the Year. I will see you all at the Game Awards. Bye!
I think I want to nominate this award to my Reformed Orthodox Rabbi Bill Clinton.